Hey guys, what's going on? It's me, your boy Samson Biggs. Boom! Here with another video. Right now we're gonna watch this video right here. Best rep ranges to build muscle faster. We're gonna see what they're talking about, see how I feel about it, give you my honest input. So let's go.
Should you lift heavyweight for a low amount of reps or lightweight for a high amount of reps to build more muscle? Many powerlifters will tell you that the answer is to stick to a low rep count of 3 to 5 reps. Meanwhile, many other athletes will advocate for a higher rep range. But when it comes to building muscle, most would agree that the best place to look for advice on the optimal rep range for muscle growth would be in the bodybuilding scene, where the whole goal is to pack on more proportional muscle mass.
That's true. If you're gonna be trying to build muscle, you want to go to the bodybuilders. And if you want to build a lot of muscle, you got to go to the big bodybuilders, the real bodybuilders. This guy who's giving this advice, I'm sure he's got some decent little muscles on him. And more props to him because he's sure got a lot of followers. Got like 3 million subscribers on his channel. But yeah, I always say if you're gonna want to get big, you got to go to the big guys. That's one thing that I do. If I'm in the gym and I see a guy that's bigger than me, which is usually hard to find, I'll hit them up and ask them what they're doing to get so big. All right, let's keep going.
Than your opponents. And bodybuilders often view the 6 to 12 rep range as the best rep range for muscle growth. Many personal trainers would agree with this as well, since the National Academy of Sports Medicine, which is one of the top certifying bodies for personal trainers, they also recommend 6 to 12 reps as the best rep range.
Okay, any of the personal training, national this, National Academy of that, it's all bullshit. So it's not a big deal that the National Academy of Sports Science said 6 to whatever reps is the best thing to build muscle. It's just a dumb organization that freaking makes money for people to buy their course so they can sell you personal training courses, and so you can have a certification. For years, I was in that certification black hole where you had to buy a certification, and all the different certification companies, all of their crap is crap. So anyway, let's keep going.
Range for hypertrophy or muscle growth. This rep range also just feels right from a sensory perspective, because when you're going far above 12 reps, it makes the weight feel less challenging, and when you do less than 6 reps, you don't feel much of a pump or a burn. So
I'm going to disagree with what he just said. 6 to 12 reps is great and everything, but I've gotten major pumps from doing 20 reps, major pumps from doing 30 reps. So I'm just gonna disagree with what he just said. That was and I've gotten pumped just doing like 2 reps. So he's full of shit. That right there I don't
6
agree
to 12
with.
reps for each of your sets may feel like the sweet spot for muscle growth, but when looking at the research, there's not a whole lot to back up the 6 to 12 rep range specifically. In fact, several studies show that you can build the same amount of muscle with low, moderate, and high rep.
Okay, studies, research. Who's done the most studies? Not these scientists. These scientists that are doing a study. You got NCBI or whatever on your freaking thing. All these scientists that get some muscle biopsy while you're doing, while some old guy is doing a lift. That's not studying. Okay, you don't know what studying muscle is. Studying gains. Bodybuilders who have been bodybuilding for 20 years, guys who've been packing on the mass, doing this, doing that, lifting. Okay, all these little freaking studies, these little 2-week studies, 8-week study. What is it? 8-week study. What are you gonna do? You think you can study muscle growth in 8 weeks? You think an 8-week study is gonna study? Get out of here with this bullshit, man. Some people are so gullible. Don't believe the hype, man. If it's a study, it doesn't matter. Studies don't matter. Especially a freaking 8-week. How much muscle can you build in an 8-week study? Get out of here.
For example, we have a study dating all the way back to 2002 that showed that 4 sets of 3 to 5 reps produced as much muscle growth in all muscle fibers as 3 sets of 9 to 11 reps. Based on those results, the researchers concluded that low and intermediate rep ranges appear to lead to similar muscular adaptations.
This is garbage.
As long as you're lifting a weight that's heavy enough for that rep range to just about take you to failure. Various other studies found similar results. They found that when the total training volume is the same, you can build the same amount of muscle regardless of whether you're doing low, moderate, or high rep sets. For example, a large meta-analysis looked at muscular adaptations in low versus high load resistance training. And when it came down to muscle hypertrophy, or in other words, muscle growth, no differences could be found between high loads and low loads. And in general, the evidence as a whole shows that this is true for both untrained lifters and for those who are more advanced and have been training for longer.
Okay, just throw the studies out the window, okay? Pay attention to what you see in the gym, okay? Talk to the guys that are huge. Talk to the bodybuilders, okay? You want to know how to get big? Watch Ronnie Coleman, okay? Watch Phil Heath, you know? Watch freaking Sean Ray. Watch freaking, you know, all the big bodybuilders. Lee Priest, Flex Wheeler, you know, Kevin Lervoni. You know, just, the list goes on and on. Arnold Schwarzenegger. Who's this? Is this Bill Pearl? I think that's Bill Pearl in the background. Yeah. You want to get some real muscle advice. You want to build some real muscle. You go to the source. I mean, go to the bodybuilders. Don't look at a study and think a study is going to help you. It's just.
Now, despite all that evidence,
that's Arnold. That's Arnold.
In the late
That's a young Arnold.
The 6 to 12 rep range has still.
That's Kevin Lervoni right there. See what I mean? Kevin
Lervoni. But that somewhat started to change over the last few years when studies showed
Big
that
Rammy.
even very high rep sets, using a weight that's only
Rammy.
30% of the participant's 1 rep max, can be as effective for muscle growth as a traditional bodybuilding rep range, as long as the sets are taken to failure. So really, the bottom line is the latter part, taking the sets to failure. That piece of advice is crucial to reap the muscle building benefits of high rep training.
Okay, and taking your sets to failure. You don't have to take your sets to failure. That's not the main thing. You know what the main thing is? Is getting it done. Being consistent and doing the work for a long period of time. Okay? You start lifting. You lift for 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year. The more you do it, the better you're going to get. The longer you do it, the better you're going to get. That's the way it works. You know, I mean, you could go, there could be a lifter. Say there's a lifter, some kid, some 18-year-old kid, say he's starting to lift, and he never lifts to failure, okay? But he does high reps, and he just does a good amount of reps, but he never goes to failure. He never really goes to failure. Is he going to grow? Sure. Is he going to grow a lot? I mean, depends on what he's eating. Depends on what he's supplementing with. Depends on how high his testosterone is. All these things. Let's keep it going.
Because simply doing a lot of reps with a light weight without going near failure is absolutely not effective for muscle growth. On top of that, ultra high rep sets do have their own share of problems. One of those is that they're very mentally taxing. After all, not many people have the stamina to train a failure on the squat with 30% of their 1 rep max, which again is a very light load that would require you to do a ton of reps for multiple sets. You'd have to do about 40 to 50 reps per set, which would be pure torture. In scientific studies, that generally isn't an issue because in most studies, the scientists or their assistant trainers will train the participants one-on-one to make sure that they go all out. Having someone push you on every set actually has a significant impact on how hard you train.
That's a good bodybuilder right there.
Especially if it's a scientist or a
Flex
trainer
Wheeler.
that's very driven and expects a lot from their participants. In real life, however, most of us don't have that kind of luxury, and almost all trainees don't train hard enough to reap all the benefits of high rep training. The big caveat for most people attempting high rep training outside of a lab setting is that they simply stay too many reps away from failure to make the lower weight load effective enough for muscle growth. For example, in another study, researchers...
What's up with this guy with studies? Freaking studies, man. And all you people out there that are like, oh, a study? Oh. Jesus Christ, man.
examined the ability of trainees
In a
to
study.
predict how many reps
They
they
did
were
a study.
away from failure on a number of different exercises, including the seated row, chest press, leg press, bicep curl, pull down, and the sit-up. And the results clearly showed that the participants were not able to accurately predict the number of reps they could perform before failure, and on average they were off by about 2.64 to 3.38 reps. That's a lot, and it can make a huge difference when it comes to muscle growth. On top of that, throughout this entire study, the participants were instructed to use a weight load that they would normally use when training at the gym by themselves. Since most people perform about 6 to 12 reps per set at the gym, there's a strong probability that most participants in this study were aiming for that rep range. And they were still about 3 reps away from failure. Imagine if they were told to go for 30, 40, or 50 reps. With all the mental and stamina issues that come with those higher rep ranges, they would have been even further away when predicting their point of failure. That's why very high rep sets are not effective for most people in real life. Most people simply don't train hard enough to reap the benefits. And
I disagree with what he's saying. As a personal trainer, I train 1,000 people. And let me tell you something. For the people that aren't, acclimated, aren't, not even advanced, just moderately have some idea of how to lift weights, right? For all the new people or people that rarely do it, I always found that super high reps was the best way to teach them. Have you ever heard that saying, quantity over quality builds better quality? It's an old saying. I don't know where it's particularly at. But anyway, but it's the truth, man. The more you practice, the better you get. And that means the more reps you do, the better you'll get. So a lot of times when I'm training like people that are housewives or executives who haven't been in the gym for years, or they just play golf, rather than having them try and bench, 5 reps, 10 reps, 15 reps, 15 reps I consider even low reps, to tell you the truth. I'll have them do something like 30 reps, 50 reps, just do the bar. Let me see you pump that bar up 50 times. And what that's going to do is it's going to build a connection with their muscles. It's going to build a connection with their mind. And, so a lot of times to get better at something, you have to practice. And if I only got you in for, twice a week, we're doing a lot of reps, okay? Just so you can get good at it. Anyway, let's keep this going.
And training to failure is essential, especially if you're going for really high rep sets, because if you don't train to failure, you won't reach the recruitment threshold of the larger muscle motor units with more fibers, especially the fast twitch fibers, which have the most potential for muscle growth. Now, aside from all this, even if you somehow have the mental resilience to train to failure on your high rep sets, which most lifters don't, but if you do, there's another problem you'll run into. You'll most likely expose yourself to an unnecessary higher risk of injury. This is because the extremely long duration of your sets will fatigue your stabilizer muscles so much that it'll become near impossible to maintain.
Okay. Risk of injury is what you do when you go into the gym. I just spit. You're going to risk injury. You lift with heavy weights, guess what? You're risking injury. You risk with lightweight and doing a lot of reps, you risk injury. I would say you have a less chance to injure yourself if you're doing higher reps because the weight's less. You can easily get rid of it, put it up. So I disagree with what he's saying.
Proper form during the last few reps. So if you still really want to include ultra high rep sets,
those are high rep muscles.
Your isolation
high rep muscles.
Only, since those exercises are safer to perform under high amounts of fatigue. So to bring this all together, there are really 5 important things to keep in mind. First of all, very low rep training where you're only doing 1 to 2 reps is more than likely not optimal for muscle growth. We even have a study showing us that doing 8 sets with a very heavy 1 rep max weight load is inferior to doing 8 sets of 8 to 12 reps. Now, it might be possible that low rep subjects could gain the same amount of muscle if they were to do a lot more.
There's so much dogma out there. Lots of things work. Lots of things will work. The key is just to do it. Be consistent. Get out there and do it. You can do it.
more sets so that they can achieve about the same amount of training volume as the moderate rep group. But the problem is that you would then have to spend a whole lot of time at the gym. Plus, training within a 1 to 2 rep range max is very taxing on the joints, which could lead to injuries over time. That's why I'd say that if you want to build muscle, it's best to do at least 3 reps per set. The second thing to remember is even though training within your 1 to 2 rep max isn't ideal for muscle growth, it is beneficial to include at least some low rep, high intensity sets into your workouts. You can do this in a much safer and more effective way by training within 3 to 5 reps instead of 1 to 2 reps. You want to make sure that you include this lower rep range of around 3 to 5 reps because high weight load, low rep sets are best for gaining strength. For example, a large systematic review found that there's a strong trend towards higher amounts of muscle growth in response to higher weight loads instead of lower weight loads. And gaining strength is an important factor for overall muscle growth because it means that you can use heavier weights throughout all your other sets, and that alone is a potent muscle building stimulus. The third thing to keep in mind is that both high and low rep training activate different growth pathways in your body. That's why it may be beneficial to vary your rep ranges instead of getting overly fixated on one particular rep range.
I agree with that.
I'm a big fan of
Go ahead and be flexible in your lifting. Okay? Sometimes do high reps, sometimes do low reps, sometimes do moderate reps. There's all kinds of different things you can do. Make sure you're doing enough volume, though. That's a big thing. That's the biggest thing is volume. You know? It's not about how many reps per set. It's more about how many sets. How many sets per workout, how many sets per week, how many sets per month. The more sets, the bigger you'll get. And the stronger you'll get too.
Periodization, where you vary your reps every couple weeks or months. The fourth key point is that elderly adults may want to focus more on moderate.
And you don't have to vary it every couple weeks or every couple months. You can vary it in your workout. Sometimes I'll do 50 reps for the first couple sets, and then I'll do 25 reps for the next couple sets, and then I'll do 15 reps, and then 5 reps. You can switch it up. It's fun. Have fun with it. Stop with all the scientific bullshit and have some fun and work out.
And higher rep ranges instead of lower rep ranges. And that's not because it's better for muscle growth. In fact, research shows that elderly trainees, just like younger ones, experience the same muscle growth from both lower and higher intensities. Instead, it's because low rep, high intensity training is more likely to lead to an injury for older adults. This may be because they have less connective tissue due to a lower protein turnover rate, which increases injury risk when training with heavy weight due to weaker joints and weaker tendons. Aging also decreases the performance of the central nervous system, which may also increase the risk of injury when lifting heavy. Finally, the fifth thing to remember that ties into point number 3 is to not get fixated on one best rep range. Since you can technically get similar muscle growth within each rep range, the key comes down to training hard enough, especially if you're going with higher rep sets. And this is why when it comes to real life outside of lab scenarios, I'm still very high on going with a heavier weight for anywhere between 3 to 12 reps rather than a really light weight for 20 or 30 plus reps, simply because you'll be more likely to actually train hard enough.
Why not do a heavy weight for 30 reps? You can do it. You can do it. How? Get your sets in. If you can only do 5 reps for one set, do 5 reps. Rest for 10 seconds, do 5 more reps. Rest for 10 seconds, do 5 more reps. Rest for 10 seconds, do 3 more reps. Yeah, now we're talking. Now you're getting it. Now you understand what I'm talking about. Let's get going.
When using the heavier weight. Unfortunately, this is where many lifters go wrong, in particular beginners. They simply don't train hard enough. And due to this fact, even though there's data that shows that high rep sets can be just as effective for muscle growth, it doesn't actually carry over in a practical setting. To give you an example, many lifters go into a set with the intention of doing a particular number of reps, let's say 20 reps. Then once they've reached those 20 reps, they'll put the weight back regardless of whether that set was hard enough or not. So they may have been able to do 2, 3, 4, or even more extra reps, but they stopped because they were fixated on that number 20. This is not something that I recommend because it causes most people to leave too many reps in the tank, failing to maximally stimulate muscle growth. Instead, it's better to do as many reps as possible for each set, which, ironically enough, still causes most people to leave 2 to 3 reps in the tank, as we've seen in the study from before. But at least then, most lifters get somewhat close to failure, which is already a huge improvement compared to how hard most people train. So for those of you that made it this far, I want to give you a very simple way to incorporate low, medium, and high rep training into your routine to maximize strength gains and muscle growth. One of the simplest ways to do this is to spend about 3 to 4 weeks within one of 3 rep ranges before moving on to the next one. These 3 rep ranges are...
All right, I'm bored. I'm bored with this, okay? There's some stuff in this video that, you know, is good. There's some stuff in this video that you can throw out the window. The most important thing with your reps is there is no best rep range, okay? The big thing is just to get in there and to do it and to be consistent, okay? Your intensity comes with practice, just like everything. You'll teach yourself to get more intense. So some people, they just don't have it mentally. Some people don't want to be intense. Some people, when they get in, you know what? And when I say intense, I don't mean like walking around like you're an asshole in the gym, okay? A lot of people think you have to be an asshole to be intense. There's this one girl that walks around my gym, and I swear, she walks around the gym and she thinks that she has to walk around the gym like this and be mad, mean mug everybody, and bang her weights around. Calm down. You don't have to do that. Like, you can be intense while you're lifting, okay? I listen to classical music while I work out. Is that intense? No. Keeps me calm. But while you're actually lifting, what I mean by intense is how much effort you're giving while you're working out. And you don't have to go to failure. I mean, you can go to failure. In fact, most people that lift are going to go to failure. Sometimes I don't go to failure on purpose. In fact, most of the time, I don't go to failure on purpose. Just because I lift alone. I don't lift with a spotter, and I don't like to have a spotter, and because I don't like spotting people. I'm selfish. I'm a selfish lifter. So I don't necessarily go to failure. So, but yeah, this is just, you know, it's some good advice, some bad advice. Take it how you want to take it. But I'm going to have to say I give this... whatever. You do what you want. It's your boy, Samson Biggs. We'll be back with more videos. And make sure you subscribe to the channel for more reaction videos. And I'll be watching everybody. Make sure they're saying the right stuff. And if they're saying stupid stuff, I'm going to call them out on it. All right.